What's up, spacers? This is your specialist, the Space Technician, and today we have a super exciting video breaking down NASA and DARPA's new partnership to develop a nuclear thermal rocket for deep space exploration. I have all the details on why NASA believes this revolutionary engine could be faster and more efficient than SpaceX's Raptor engines for reaching Mars. But before we dive in, if you enjoy keeping up with the latest space news and developments, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell to join our community of technicians. Now, let's jump right into this epic new rocket collaboration. Remember, strapping in is optional, but recommended. Alright guys, I know you're as pumped as I am to learn about this new DRACO engine NASA and DARPA are cooking up. Here are the key facts in plain English on how this nuclear thermal rocket would work. In a nutshell, instead of burning rocket fuel like a traditional engine, the DRACO concept uses an advanced nuclear reactor to produce insane amounts of heat reaching several thousand degrees. They pump liquid hydrogen through that reactor core to rapidly heat it up into a hot, expanded gas. This incredibly energized gas gets blasted through a nozzle to produce thrust, the key to propelling rockets through space. So, why is NASA so jazzed about this decades-old concept? Well, the breakthrough is taking today's cutting-edge nuclear tech from DARPA's expertise with reactors and creatively using that heat to rocket-propel spacecraft way beyond what we can currently dream of with traditional chemistry-based engines. DRACO and other nuclear thermal rockets can theoretically make the spacecraft 3 to 5 times faster due to much higher exhaust velocities as the hydrogen particles violently fly out of the back. And the hydrogen fuel is far lighter than chemical rocket propellants. So NASA did the math. They estimate this technology could transport astronauts to Mars in just 45 days instead of 6 months. How insane is that? Now, exactly how would this look? My understanding is that the nuclear reactor produces the heat at the core. Liquid hydrogen gets fed through and absorbs that thermal energy, causing it to expand and accelerate through the nozzle to generate boatloads of thrust. So it's like a controlled nuclear explosion happening over and over inside the engine guts. The concept dates back over 50 years, but is clearly getting a major upgrade, pairing NASA's space mission experience with DARPA, the Pentagon's forward-thinking technology division. Their goal is to test fire an actual prototype later this decade. Are you science nuts as riled up as I am for the space race implications here? Alright, now we have the fundamentals, so you understand why NASA feels so confident that this nuclear rocket design will be a total game changer. They claim it will be able to transport astronauts to Mars in a blazing 45 days, instead of the 6 months SpaceX estimates for Starship. But what are the differences between these propulsion technologies, and why is nuclear thermal so superior on paper? We need to learn what makes it 3 to 5 times more powerful and fuel efficient. Let's examine the pros and cons, and what SpaceX would counter with. Alright, now that you science enthusiasts understand the DRACO concept at a high level, let's dive deeper into how it compares and contrasts with SpaceX's Starship vision. Get your physics thinking caps on. At the core, both approaches ultimately aim to transport astronauts to Mars as fast as possible. But NASA is claiming 45 days now, versus Elon Musk's estimate of 6 months even for his next-gen Starship. Why such a big difference? Well, it comes down to the radically different propulsion technologies powering each vehicle. Starship will use upwards of 30 methane-fueled Raptor engines mounted at the base. The methane and oxygen combust inside the engines to produce hot expelled gases that generate heavy thrust. The more engines, the more power. Meanwhile, DRACO ditches traditional combustion entirely. As we discussed, its nuclear fission reactor produces simply outrageous temperatures which heat and accelerate the hydrogen fuel without needing oxygen at all. This makes the exhaust velocity absolutely tremendous compared to chemical rockets. NASA is essentially harnessing the immense energy from nuclear reactions, rather than chemical reactions, in a very specially controlled way to blast ultra-fast particles out the back end. And liquid hydrogen weighs way less than chem rocket fuels. This is why the nuclear thermal tech is projected to have 3 to 5 times the rocket power potential. Now, What are the pros and cons of each approach? Well, precision nuclear energy is complicated and risky, obviously. But NASA would argue it's far more optimized for sending ships on the 8 to 9 month round-trip voyage to Mars. The insane performance means less total fuel weight, smaller vehicles, and more flex mission designs. And NASA has invested in nuclear tech safety for decades. For SpaceX, simpler methane engines are cheaper and faster to build at scale. Methane can even be produced from Mars's atmosphere for return trips and future civilization building. The downside? It seems even hundreds of stacked starships may lack the velocity needed for optimal Mars transport compared to advanced nuclear thermal, according to NASA's simulations. But I'm sure Elon is working on ways to catch up. This sets up an epic innovation race this decade, determines who enables the first crews to step foot on Mars, governmental or commercial space programs. Both radical technologies have advantages and downsides, but the scalability and rapid testing tempo of SpaceX cannot be ignored either. What a time to be alive for space fans. Pretty mind-blowing, right? NASA reviving this technology from decades ago, combined with DARPA's nuclear expertise, clearly has a lot of potential. But SpaceX has its own vision and isn't standing still either. Both NASA, through projects like DRACO, plus SpaceX's Starship program, have immensely ambitious timelines for developing revolutionary and complex new space technologies over the next 10 years. While they have different technical approaches and engineering philosophies, the success of one does not preclude the success of the other. In fact, both rocket designs unlocking their full potential could be a huge win for space exploration. Let me explain. NASA brings that cutting-edge nuclear thermal propulsion knowledge from the past secret projects and modern simulation tech. This will enable faster point-to-point transport, crucial for Mars missions within optimal Earth-Mars orbital windows. Faster trips means less habitat payload requirements and exposure dangers for crews over long durations. However, Starship is intended for so much more than just Mars voyages. Their vision is an entire interconnected space transportation system, capable of daily launches carrying over 100 tons each. This totally changes the economics and scales up human access to space across low Earth orbits and even the Moon. The more they fly, the cheaper space travel becomes. See how each program has very distinct strengths. NASA's advanced nuclear vessels would be ideal for deep space crewed transport to Mars and maybe asteroids. But fleets of starships could rapidly deploy the space stations, fuel depots, communication arrays, and orbiting settlements needed to sustain exploration further out in the solar system. So, rather than competing directly, perhaps government and commercial space efforts play to their strengths. NASA handles cutting-edge research and exploration missions, while SpaceX focuses on the infrastructure and transportation backbone, growing the in-space economy. This complementary relationship would maximize the access opportunities and scientific yields. And, if you ask me, combining nuclear thermal-propelled spacecraft for Mars missions with refueling at Starship-built depots between Earth and Mars sounds like an absolute home run formula. This could expand humanity's reach throughout the solar system faster than ever thought possible. What an incredible potential future, my space comrades. As you can see, the next decade is going to feature some absolutely epic advances in space tech and propulsion capabilities from both public agencies like NASA as well as trailblazing commercial companies. Make sure you smash that like button if you're as hyped up as I am. What topic should we cover next on the channel? Let me know your space tech interests in the comments. Remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring that notification bell. This is the Space Technician signing off for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you, Space Cowboys, in the next one.